Hey guys, so welcome to another video. This one's going to be a little bit different. It's actually for 3,000 subscribers and this is my editing tutorial. And first off, I want to thank everyone for 3,000 subscribers. The growth has been crazy recently. I really appreciate it. I'm going to keep working hard, but past all that, let's just get right into the tutorial. So to start with, I'm using Final Cut Pro, and this is a lot different than what most editors use. Most people will use After Effects or possibly Sony Vegas. This is the way I do it, and I know I've gotten a ton of questions about that. So here we go, we're gonna jump into it. And hopefully this is interesting not only to people who want to try Final Cut Pro, but just for other people to learn how I edit. And I get a lot of questions because this is kind of an unconventional way of editing. So to start with, I've imported 2 gunshots down here. I also imported the clip and the song I'm going to be using. And this is really easy. All you do is just drag it straight from the desktop. So to start with, I'm going to detach the audio from the video portion here.
I've dug 2 graves for us, my dear. Can't pretend that I was perfect, leaving you in fear.
Now I can't just delete up here because if I deleted it, if you see, it's actually connected here. So I'm going to put a black solid down here, drag this across so it's connected to this, and that way nothing's connected to this. I can delete it with no problems. Right now I'm just going to be looking for a part of the song that I want to start with. I chose this song partly because I really like it, but also because it has a pretty consistent beat throughout, which is easy for editing. Okay, so I'm going to use this part here because there's a little bit of a pause that I can do a little intro in. So how I'm going to do this, I'm going to cut the clip by pressing Command B. Now I can delete this, drag this over here, and because I don't want to start initially right with the clip, I'm going to have a little bit of black. You can add a cinematic here, but for this purpose, just for the tutorial, I'm going to keep it black. So I'm going to drag this down to shorten it. But there. I can see on the waveform that the actual beat is here because this is a pretty large spike here. So that's probably going to be the start of the clip. What I'm going to do now is mark out the beginning of this song, and basically what that does is it just, even though the beats are pretty recognizable here, there's just an easier way to see them if you add markers. So how you do this is you press the M key, and I'm going to play the song and I'm just going to mark it out. So that's probably good for now. We can add more after. Okay, so now we're going to get into the actual syncing part. You can add markers also to this clip, to the actual shots. I don't normally, but just for this tutorial I will. So just make sure that make sure the clip is connected. Just make sure the clip is selected and press M right as you see the shot come from the gun. So right there, right here, and right there. I think I missed them there, yeah. That's the shot. Right there. And I'm going frame by frame by just using the keypad, pressing right and left. So now obviously this is a bunch of space without shots, so we don't really need it. So we're going to Command B, delete this, and you'll see that slide into place. So now I'm going to show you how to use velocity on here. This is how I sync the clips together. Instead of simply dragging these together, if you look at this, it looks a little bit boring. There's really nothing much going on. So instead what I do is use the Shift B command. So if I press Shift B here, you'll see that it cuts the clip, but it doesn't actually fully cut it. It just cuts the speed of the clip. So there's 2 possible speeds, but the whole clip is actually 1. Make sure this is lined up to the first beat. Now if I press on this, a whole bunch of speeds will come up. There's normal, there's custom, which you can obviously change. There is a couple of presets for slow and presets for fast. So pretty much what you want to do is you want to use this shift B thing to kind of speed up on beats. And how you'll do that is just pressing the 2 times, and you'll see this little bar comes up, and that's what's called your velocity. Basically what that is the amount of time it takes from the speed of this clip to go from 200 to 100. So this is a pretty short amount of time. This is a very long amount of time. So for example, this might be like 180 speed right here, 180%, but if I go like that, it's actually 100. So it's just a way of smoothly transitioning between the 2 speeds. So I want to get into the shots right away. So I want this shot to be on the 2nd beat, ideally. So I'm just going to drag this until it's somewhere around. I'm not going to make it exactly, because with velocity, you do want to speed up on the beats. That's what helps the flow. So this is actually going to be closer to this beat once we speed it up. So it depends on the song. This is a slower song, so I'm probably going to go with something like 200 speed rather than something higher like 400 or a custom like 300. Now for effect, you do want to go a little bit under 100 after your speed. So you do want to go a little bit under 100 after your speed. So I'll go at about 88. When editing Destiny, you really don't want to go too far low. You don't want to go under, I would say around 65, 70 is the lowest you should go. Because the game is 30 FPS, once you hit around 50% speed, it cuts the frames in half, obviously, so it's only 15 frames per second, and that looks like really laggy, so I do not recommend that at all. So 88 seems good. Now this, we need to get lined up here. If we do 2 times, it's not going to be quite there. So what we can do, this is a little unreliable. This bar helps you pull speeds like finely, but sometimes you see it doesn't work that well. So instead what we're going to do, we're going to click on this, and we're going to go custom, let's say 260, let's say. Now the actual shot lineup is pretty much on the beat, which is good. We're just going to adjust the velocity a little bit. We'll preview this later, and there's no one way to make the velocity look the best, in my opinion. You just have to keep previewing it and see how you like it. So I'm going to slow this down again just by dragging this to about 85% or 84, let's say. Now, because there's no shot yet, that doesn't mean we can't use velocity either. The movement of my character is pretty continuous to one side, so that means that there's nothing funny we have to worry about quite yet. So I'm going to go again with the 200 speed here. Just going to adjust the velocity a little bit. Now I'm going to slow this down once more. I want to slow it down a little more because this is going to be sped up. So I want this marker to be a little bit behind right now. So that's the shot. Shift B, 2 times speed. It's okay if it's a little bit ahead. It's better to be a little bit ahead than behind. It looks better. Adjust this velocity again. Now we come up to something a little bit different. You want the beats to be where the most action happens. Pretty much in this case back here, there wasn't really much going on throughout this whole thing. It was all sideways movement. But here the null end comes up and it just ends up being on the beat, which is good for us. But most of the, I guess you could say, action-packed moments you want to happen on the beats as well. So I will drag this out a little bit, because even if it comes up on the beat normally, it won't have the same punch if you just leave it at 100%. So slow it down a little bit. I'm going to bring it back up to 200 here. And we got kind of lucky again. The beats are lining up pretty well. So I'm still going to slow it down a little bit just for the effect. fast. I don't think 200 will be enough. See, it's a little bit behind the beat. So Command Z that. Go to 250. Now that looks a bit better. Once again, I'm just going to adjust the velocity down here. So a little bit. Now we have a little bit of a weird situation. This beat is actually way out in the middle here. So there's a couple things we can do. We can either try to sync it to this beat here or this beat down here. So to do that, it looks like it's a little bit closer to this beat, so it might be easier. So I'm going to Command Z this. So this is a scenario where a lot of the times you're going to need just to keep the flow, you want a quick scope or something like that. So I'm going to slow it down here. Command Z this bit. I'm going to slow it down right here to lower than we went before, around 70. And then I'm going to speed it here. And then the shot is here. So basically what I'm doing here is I don't want the scope in to be that slow, because when the scope in's really slow, it just looks a little bit sluggish, the whole sync of it. So I'm making it a little bit slower beforehand, and then when the scope comes in, it's not too slow. Now in this case, once again for the flow, I'm probably not going to use this shot. I'm going to use this shot here. And I'm not really doing this to make the clip look better or anything like that. It helps, but mostly just because I want to keep the flow of the song going, or else it kind of stagnates. And now we're going to see how it looks. One thing we'll wait for though is this little orange bar up here. That's it rendering. Final Cut render is actually very fast. You don't have to wait too long, but you're just gonna let go of your mouse for a little bit and it's gonna do its thing. And there you go, it's all good, so let's watch this. So it's not too bad. There's a few things I would tweak. It's a little bit messy in here. I like this. I like this part right here. It looks good. One thing I do notice is there's actually a double beat here. There's a beat here and a beat here. So what we can do here, let it load for a second. What we can do here is actually make one of the quote-unquote action-packed things happen on the beat as well. So as you see here, the scope in is actually a little bit after the beat. So what we could do, we could speed this up and make it land on the beat, which might look a little bit cool. But one problem with doing that is just be aware that when you do that sync, everything, because the clip is all one, everything that comes after it will also be shifted over. So what I like to do sometimes when I want to make a change like this is I just put a random marker anywhere on the video and a marker on the song. That way I know these markers need to line up after I finish this little addition. So, oops, select this, Shift B. Go 2 times speed. That looks pretty good. And now we want these two to line up. So I'm gonna, you see here we need it a little bit slower. Okay, so that's good. It's 69% speed. It's not too bad. It's not too slow. It should still look okay. So we're gonna wait for the render once again. So I don't know if you noticed that, but just watch out for the double beat. It looks pretty nice. There we go. Now this part after looks a little messy.
That's the first step, right? You agree? I've dug 2 graves for us, my dear.
I'm just gonna use a transition instead to close off this thing. So how I got to the transitions was on the right side here, you'll see a whole bunch of signs, and the middle one is the transition one. You can just go to all and you can look through them all, or you can just use cross dissolve, which I like to use. Now to fade this song out, you'll press Command B, which is the cut button. Cut this. Don't worry about that. This little thing on the edge is the fade out. We might as well fade in as well. So you'll hear how it sounds now. Now we're gonna add some gun sounds. So I actually don't know where I put them. I might have deleted them by mistake. So let me grab them and put them back in here. Okay, so first shots are sniper shots. You want to put it directly on where you see the bullet trail. It's pretty easy to see. Now I'm gonna copy this, Command C, and then paste it, Command V, because we have another one coming up. Let's move this out of the way. That's the shot right there. Drag it to there. Now we have no land shots. Right there. Are we gonna Command C? It's right there. There you go. Now let's see how this sounds. Now that's obviously way too loud for this song. I'll lower them to about -5 and see how it looks. It's still way too loud in my opinion, but we can lower this in a different way by adding effects to it. So on this left side, on this right side, the left of the toolbar, you'll see the effects panel. You go all the way down, you'll get to audio, and then you can go through all of them. A nice one I like to use sometimes is just a muffle, because there's not too many gun sounds. I'll just drag it onto each, and we'll see how it sounds with it. It's probably a little bit too much, so I'll just go in and up here we'll lower it. And you don't have to lower them to make them the exact same, because oftentimes it'll get boring if you use the exact same sound. Okay, now to do some effects. So the only plugin I have for Final Cut is actually Magic Bullet Looks. You'll see it actually there. You'll see it there. And I use that actually for a lot of effects, even though it's supposed to be a color correction thing. And basically how you make effects in Final Cut Pro is there's a whole bunch of defaults, which you'll see here. There's different blurs, stuff like that. So let's say I just throw this on. You'll see how everything kind of has the kind of glitch thing going on. So let's say we want this glitch effect to happen when we shoot. So you'll see in the top right, we have our amount here. We can go from all the way to 0 to 32, and you can actually drag it like crazy, but we won't do that right now. What we can do if we want it to only affect one part of the clip, is keyframe it. So basically how we do that is on the right side here, you'll see all the way down, there's this little icon, and that's keyframe. Basically what that does is it says at this point in the video, this effect has to be at 0 if I click the keyframe here. So that means in this case, everything before here is going to be 0 as well. So now what we can do, we can go a few frames over, we can go to the shot, and we can drag it out like that. Let's go here. And because we keyframed it before, you'll see the keyframe icon is highlighted. And so that means at this point in the video, it's always going to be 32. So basically what it's done is if you look up here, this is the 0 keyframe, and it's created a ramp all the way up to the 32. And we can slowly bring that down. So let's say down here, drag it to 0. That means that at this point in the clip, the effect is at 0. So it'll do a little ramp all the way down. So let's say I really like how the blur and the glitch thing looks together. So basically what you can do is click here, Save Effects Preset, and it'll come up like that. You can choose a category, or you can make a new category here. And this is the keyframe timing. For now, I would just always say maintain. So let's say I save this here. Just title it blur. I'll save it to 2K effect. So I go into 2K effect, and then I look for blur. It'll be up here. There it is, and I can just drag that onto any clip I want. So that just speeds up your editing. If you see here, these are all effects I've made. They're pretty easy to make, and it makes it a lot faster. So not too much going on. As you see, when I added some of the effects, I had to cut up the clips a little bit, and now it's kind of annoying if I want to keyframe an effect from here to here, because I can't, because it's blocked by this. So basically what you do when your clips are too cut up, you select everything here, right click, new compound clip, press OK, and there you go. So we have a whole bunch of black space here we don't need. Just cut that out. I'm gonna let the render thing here go quickly. Okay, so now we're gonna do some shot impacts. So I have some ones that I already have custom made in my 2K effect thing, but I might as well make them here for the tutorial. So I'm just gonna cut right at every shot. Command B, and one last shot. There we go. So I'm gonna go to distortion, go to earthquake. And for earthquake, what I like to do is I lower the layers here, increase this a little bit, and I'm at the first frame. Let me zoom in so you can see. I'm on the first frame here, and I'm going to keyframe this earthquake, and I'm going to go a few frames down, depending on how much you want. Let's say we go down here, and then I'm going to drag this to 0, and so it's going to do a little bridge all the way down here. What you can do if you want to add this to all your other clips is you go Command C, select these, and then you can't see right now on the recording, but you go up to Edit in your top bar, Edit, you go to Paste Attributes, Earthquake, Maintain Timing, Paste. And now if we look, once it renders out quickly, we should see the shake effect after every shot. So I don't know if you noticed that, but there's a little bit of shake after every shot. So it's looking a little bit better now. I don't want to overload it with effects because this is a pretty somber song and you don't want too many effects with it. So now that's all cut up again, I'm gonna go new compound clip. You don't want to do this too much or your actual project size gets way too big. But I normally end up doing it like 5 or 6 times during an edit and then I clear it after. So now we're gonna do screen pumps. How we do that is just once again cutting. I actually could have done it in the previous compound, but we'll just do it here. We're gonna cut on every one of our important beats. I remember our important beats from just the effects that I put down, but if you need to, you can always remark this song out. There we go. So pretty much what we're gonna do, you can end up saving this to an effects preset as well. But to start with, we're gonna go to transform, which is this little button here, and you also see it on this side. We're gonna keyframe this, go 1 frame over, and go to about 100. For this kind of song, 103. For more upbeat songs and faster songs, I'd say like 105 probably. Then we're gonna go all the way down here and keyframe it back to 100. So once again, it makes that little ramp thing. Slowly goes back down. So we're gonna do the same thing we did before. Command C, select all of these, file or edit, sorry, paste attributes, transform, maintain timing, paste. Now you see the orange bar show up again. We're gonna wait for it. So you see the screen pumps going on. Just helps keep the flow up. Okay, that looks good. And lastly, we're gonna go once more, compound it, and we're gonna do the finishing touches here. So obviously you can go a lot more in depth with the effects. I'm just keeping it relatively simple for now because that's more just you being creative and you'll figure that out yourself. But this is just an overview of how to use this and how I use it. Now there's multiple ways to color correct. As I said before, I use the Magic Bullet Looks plugin, and you can use that as well if you have it, but if you don't, you can go to this color thing. I'm not too familiar with it, but I know how it works, but I don't know how to work it too well. So obviously you can change the color a little bit. I don't know. There's also some preset ones that you could find in looks. I never really found any of them to be too great, except doing this and lightly tinting it. It's okay, but it's not what we're looking for, especially with this song. I would definitely recommend getting the Magic Bullet Looks plugin if you can. Just like look up how to get it on YouTube. So we'll go here, press edit. Okay, now some weird stuff happens when you put 2 layers of Magic Bullet Looks, and the reason it's black right now is because on a previous layer I made an effect that used Magic Bullet Looks in it. It used one of the controls here in the effect, so now it turns black for some reason. So one thing you can do, you exit out of here, you can color correct back on your first layer. Oops, this is the wrong project. If you want to go into your original layers, you press this little button up here. Press it again. I want to go further back to before I did any of the effects. So I go here. What you can do is you color correct here, and then you just save your color correction. Now here are some presets that they've made. Personally, I'm not a big fan of many of them. Some of them are not bad at all, but I like making my own. So how you make your own, let's close this off. So some things you can use, I'm not going to show you exactly how to do this because this is just more trial and error, personal preference as well. You can use curves, you just adjust them however you want. With curves you want to be a little subtle because they can get a little bit overdone pretty easily. You can also use Mojo, which looks good, which there's all the stuff you can adjust, you can play around with, see how you like it. Most of this stuff here, you can just see how it works on your own, just experiment with it. Diffusion is nice. Now let's say I made a color correction that I really like. So just put this on and like, I don't know, this. You're gonna go to your custom looks. You can create a folder, I have one here. So just double click here and let's say just name it best color correction. Press enter. Yeah, there it is, you'll see it there. And now what you can do, you can take this off the first layer. Don't save by pressing this button. There you go. Go to the magic bullet looks on here, edit, and you'll find your best CC that you can just put on. Okay, so I made my color correction for this. It looks pretty good at this song, in my opinion. So now to finish things off, just to give it a more professional feel, you're going to go to Style down here, then scroll all the way down or up to Letterbox. Put that on there, and you'll find it up here. The border size, it's really up to you. I wouldn't go any higher than 5, or approximately 5. I do like to go 2.5 as well. It just gives it, to me, a cleaner feel than 5. So we're going to let that render out. Okay, so let's see how this looks now. Okay, well, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something here. This is just the very basics. I didn't go into too much detail on anything, but as you see, the video is already really long as it is, and I can't really add that much more. But hopefully you grasped the basics of the software, or you just enjoyed watching me edit. Either way, thank you for 3K. I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for watching.